Okay, welcome back. So in the last video, we talked about music alphabets and notes, and we learned that there are seven music alphabets: A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. And today, or in this video, we're going to uh, go deeper and going to talk about intervals. Okay, so what are intervals? An interval in music is the distance in pitch between any two notes. So what that pretty means is if you are taking you're comparing two notes, for example, C and E, and someone's asking you what's the interval between C and E. So they're asking you how far is E from C? Okay, how far is F from C? How far is D from C? Okay, and the way to measure that is using numbers. Okay, you just number them. If someone's asking you what's an interval from a certain note, and that note is C, let's use this. Okay, that note is C, and they're asking you what is the interval between C and E. So you start from C. 1, 2, 3. E is the third note away from C. So you say the interval is third. That's how you kind of answer that question. Okay, E is the third. All right. Normally, intervals are usually denoted by a number and its quality. A quality could be a major third, a minor third, a diminished third. But for the purposes of this introductory videos, I'm not going to go into what those actually mean or, talk about them. I'm just saying, just for future reference, that it's not just the third, there can be something qualifying the third. But for the purposes of this video, let's just stick with the numbers. So you can say E is the third, F is the fourth. Okay, if you're counting 1, 2, 3, 4, and you see that F is the fourth. Okay, so that's how you count it. You just like, what's the interval between C and A? You count it, and A is the sixth, right? And that's it. That's just what intervals are like. How far is a note from this particular note? So, for example, the interval between C and G, okay, uh, if you look at it, the interval between C and G is a fifth. All right. But if you start from G when you're counting, if I ask you, okay, what's the interval between G and C? It's not the same thing between C and G, okay? Between G and C, you start counting from G, okay? So you count 1, 2, 3, and 4, okay? So the interval between G and C is a fourth. And the interval between C and G is a fifth. All right. So anytime you're finding out what the interval between two notes are, you start from that note. You don't just say, oh, because the interval between C and G is a fifth, therefore whatever, anything that has to do with C and G is a fifth. No, you have to count from the note you're starting with because it changes. The interval between A and E, so if I start 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, is a fifth. But the interval between E and A here, 1, 2, 3, 4, is a fourth. Okay, so you just have to be careful with the way you're counting because that matters in music. Okay, all right. Now, there are special names for special intervals. Okay, if someone is asking you what's the interval between this C and this same C again, obviously it's 1, but the special name is unison. Okay, you just say it's a unison because it's exactly the same notes. You didn't move anywhere, so it's the same unison. Whereas for the second, is the second. For the third is the third. For the fourth is the fourth. Fifth is the fifth. Sixth is the sixth. Seventh is the seventh. And eighth is actually referred to as an octave, okay? Because what's happening is that you're playing that same note, okay? You're playing that same note. The only difference is that you're playing it on a higher pitch, okay? It could be a higher pitch, it could be a lower pitch. So if you go backwards, because you know that the music alphabets repeat themselves, so if you go backwards, we could have something behind C. So we could have B here, A, G, and so on and so forth until we get to a C here. And that C would be an octave from our original starting key. So it keeps on increasing. A, B, C. This C and this C would be an octave, okay? So it's special because you're landing on the same note but on a higher pitch or in a lower pitch. So you're landing on a higher pitch or lower pitch, and that's why they call it the octave. So they don't call it the eighth, they call it an octave, okay? And also if once you pass an octave, this becomes, you know, the ninth, we move forward the 10th, the 11th, the 12th, etc, etc. So that's just how you measure intervals. These are all still intervals. Now the octave, which is a special interval, you know, because you always hear, oh, I'm playing on an octave higher, or play on an, like, it's just a common term you would hear in music, and once you get into it, so it's the distance between one note and the next note bearing its same name. Now that next note can either be higher or lower. So for example, like I was saying, if we have another note here, C, okay, if this is one octave apart and this is another one octave apart from this one, okay, then this note here and this note here would be 2 octaves apart, okay? So this would be a higher pitch than this one. This would be an even higher pitch than this one. And at the same time, if you're referencing this note here, these C's and these C's are all lower pitches, okay? So if you move forward on your keyboard, you're moving to a higher pitch, and if you move lower on your keyboard, you're moving to a lower pitch. But if you're playing the same notes, they are octaves apart from each other. Okay, so we're just going to stop here in this video and continue the next video with tones and semitones. Catch you there.